Good morning and welcome back to On The Road Adventure. Today I've got something very different. Today I have the long-awaited Triumph Scrambler 400X. Look at this little beauty. What an awesome looking machine that is. So the Scrambler 400X is the entry-level bike now for the Triumph range. They've come up with a really cool little concept actually. I mean, the Scramblers are obviously incredibly popular for Triumph, and they've now made a 400cc single cylinder small capacity bike that has the same looks and charm as the bigger Triumph Scramblers, but a much lower price tag. So before we talk about it too much anymore, I'm going to jump on it, I'm going to take it for a spin, and let's see what you get for that £5,600. Alright, so just jumped on board the Scrambler 400X from Triumph, and the first thing you notice when you jump on board this bike is that although this is a small capacity entry level bike, it doesn't feel like a small bike. Okay, you might consider the 400cc, it's A2 friendly, it's maybe you consider it at the beginning of the mid-weight range, but for me I think it's a small capacity bike. There's only a single cylinder, but sitting on it, this feels like a big bike. I mean, it is pretty damn tall. I'm only 5'7", and I am almost flat-footed each side, but not totally. It doesn't feel like a Tinker Toy at all. So, let's fire it up. We'll take it for a spin. Okay, nothing exciting as you would expect. The nice smooth rumble of a 400cc single. I do feel very sat upright and comfortable on this bike. It does not feel like a small bike at all. Very pleasantly surprised. So, elephant in the room then for this Triumph 400X. Triumph is obviously, it is known to be, back in the day, a good old British brand. But this bike is in fact built in India, like most things are these days, India, China and all the rest of it. Does that mean that you're getting a lesser quality for your money? I don't think so anymore. I don't think it's something that bothers me anymore. I recently rode the likes of the Benelli and other Chinese bikes and found myself actually very impressed with them. And the fact that this has a Triumph badge on it and the Triumph customer service and reputation, then I've got no worries at all. I don't think you'll have any problems. I don't think Triumph would put their badge on it if it hadn't been thoroughly tested and built to a decent standard. So although this is the Triumph Scrambler X model, there are two in the new 400 range from Triumph. There's the more streets twin style bike, which is it feels a lot smaller than this one, to be honest, looking at it. And this is obviously the Scrambler variant. Now realistically, you're probably not going to be taking this scrambling, but it does have a 19-inch wheel up front as opposed to the 17 on the street twin version, and it does have switchable ABS and traction control on the Scrambler. So they have made provisions for it to be used as its name suggests. But personally I think this is more likely to be used as a daily commuter bike, and for good reason. I mean, this bike costs £5,600 new. It looks awesome. Looks wise, it is impressive. We'll have a good look when we stop a little later. But the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, it is so frugal on fuel, this thing. 80 miles to the gallon on petrol. With the cost of living and the situation as it is at the moment, I think the market for lower capacity, cheaper to run bikes is growing by the day. Triumph knows this. This is why they've had to get on board with this and and put something into that sector of the market. So I think this is going to be competing with the likes of the Royal Enfield Himalayan. And this bike, I think the Royal Enfield, correct me if I'm wrong, is about 6.5, I think, the top spec one. So this is a grand cheaper, and we got the Triumph badge on it. I think that puts Triumph in a good place. So we're going to see what it's like to ride this one then. So I'm going to do a little bit of city work, and then I'm going to take it out on the main road, because of course the big question on everybody's lips is it enough power? Well, certainly plodding along at these low speeds, no problem at all, as you would expect. I mean, 400cc, 40 horsepower, you know, that should be an adequate amount of power. It certainly is for everyday, daily commuting and riding, for sure. Triumph haven't set this bike out to be the new tourer for doing huge miles, so, you know, you've got to be realistic here. So it has to be said, this is a single cylinder 400cc bike. Now, single cylinder bikes aren't known to be the smoothest, but I have to say, keeping the revs down nice and low here, I'm chugging along 4,000 revs, just short of 40 miles an hour, and the bike feels very smooth, very pleasant. Got no vibrations at all through the bars or through the pegs. We'll see how that compares when we get a bit of speed, when we get underway in a while. And obviously the Scrambler isn't designed for doing higher speeds. You don't have any kind of screen or wind protection here. Having said that, Triumph have already released a whole range of accessories from the Triumph website. I think there's something like 25 accessories available, one of which is quite a nice looking screen actually. They've also got pannier racks and bags and all the rest of it to go with it, so you probably could make use of it. I did see that they had quite a large tank bag, a side pannier and a large bag there and a top box, and I thought the large tank bag would be a problem being in the way when I looked at the website, but actually I don't think it would be. I think it would be absolutely fine there. I think you could get a fair bit of stuff there without it causing any interference. So I'm heading for the city centre here in Exeter. I'm going to see what this is like through the town traffic. So far it's doing a great job. Seems to have plenty enough poke to get you out of trouble and get you away from the lights, no problem. So far I don't feel like it's lacking in power at all. And I've noticed already actually on the deacceleration particularly, it makes a lovely little noise. So for those of you out there who aren't massive fans of tech, this is a big plus for you. Nice, simple, easy to read dash. No extra gadgets or anything on here that you don't need. No heated grips, quick shifters, none of that fancy stuff. No TFT. Just what you need. I do like that it is nice and easy to read on here. And like I mentioned earlier on, this bike is so incredibly frugal. At 80 miles per gallon, people are reporting 220 upwards miles on a tank. Let's skip through here. You see, no issue there with power at all. I've absolute confidence in this bike, and it also seems to handle very well as well. Actually, I've noticed that it steers very quickly. I'm loving this pad here, crossbar pad. Nice bit of Triumph detail in there. Even though it's priced a fraction of you know, some of the bigger Scramblers, it still looks really cool. I like it. It's got all of those trademark points from Triumph, you know, really nice round headlight and, you know, black finish on the engine casings and stuff. don't know if you can hear that on camera, but it makes a really nice little noise, this little engine. Really nice. Very often the smaller CC bikes sound like you know, bees in a can or whatever, but this one's got quite a nice deep sound really. It's quite pleasant. Now, we talked about the Scrambler not actually going to be used for scrambling, but with the state of the UK's roads at the minute, with potholes and all the rest of it, you know, making use of that half decent suspension actually makes sense for everyday riding. Well, I think it's fair to say that the Triumph Scrambler X has passed the city and town test. Economical, comfortable, plenty fast enough off the lights. It feels light and nimble and handles well. What more can you ask for? So I want to get this bike out onto a faster bit of road now, and let's see how it actually handles with a bit more speed, and you know, how much speed it can provide. Just before we get on the fast road, just got to mention this clutch. It's a small thing, but I think it's very important. This clutch is so light. It's just a standard cable clutch, but I believe it has the Triumph slip assist on the clutch itself, and like I say, I'm using one finger on it and it's so light. It's really, really good. It's definitely worth a mention. Nothing about this bike feels cheap yet at all. It all feels like your standard Triumph. Right, okay, so I'm going to be joining the M5 motorway now. So let's see if 400 cc's is enough to keep up with motorway traffic, shall we? Be interesting to see if we feel vulnerable or not. Here we go then, M5. So third gear, 40 miles an hour. I'm going to give it the beans now. Oh, that still had a really nice shunt in it. 60. I'm at 70 in fifth gear. Whoa, okay. Right, okay, so we have settled down at 70 miles an hour in sixth gear. Just below 70. When I turn the throttle, you'll see that there's plenty more power left. It wants to go on again pretty quick. I can now feel some vibrations, as you'd expect from a single cylinder engine. Wind buffing isn't as bad as I thought. But I definitely don't feel vulnerable at all. I've got bags enough power. I'm doing 70 miles an hour and I've definitely got plenty enough to twist the throttle and make further overtakes if I need to, no problem. So I'm moving out into the third lane of the motorway. Moving along very nicely. No issues with power whatsoever. Does make you start to question whether you need the big bikes. Okay, so sure, more power obviously equals more fun generally, depending on where you're riding, of course. But if you're a sensible kind of chap, 400 cc's is more than enough. You're going to save yourself an absolute fortune. You're going to save, you know, even on the most basic sort of like, well, look at the 1200 Scrambler for example. That's 12 grand, the 1200 version of this. This is £5,600. That is a huge saving. And then you need to look at your insurance costs. It's going to be considerably cheaper with such a small bike. and your fuel and running costs again considerably cheaper. If you really don't need the big 1200cc bikes, I think you at least have to try one of these out and give it a fair shot. You could literally be throwing money, you know, down the drain if you don't actually need the big 1200. Then I don't think there's anything wrong with this, and it still looks the part. It looks really cool. We'll stop and have a look at it in a minute. Right, let's go find a quiet spot and have a look at this Triumph Scrambler X 400. Right, I found ourselves a really nice quiet dead end road, so let's stop and have a look at this Triumph Scrambler 400X. Right then, let's have a look at this little beauty. So we have the 400cc single cylinder new engine here from Triumph. So this is now Triumph's entry level affordable scrambler option. And from riding it so far, I think it's brilliant. I think it's excellent value for money. So let's have a closer look at it and see what you get for your money. So in the Scrambler variant, we do have a 19-inch up front, and we have the 17-inch wheel at the rear, both fitted with the Metzler Karoo street tyres, which are very nice. And they have that sort of aggressive scrambler pattern as well, which is great. The exhaust looks very nice. I like how it all looks like it's one straight piece of pipe all the way through. The catalytic converter is hidden behind the plate there. Some really nice traditional Triumph touches on this one. Gotta love that tank and the classic triangle Triumph emblem there. Really nice quality paintwork. Excuse all the salt from on the road here, but the quality of the paintwork is really nice. The Scrambler variant, we do get these nice Triumph protector pads. So this is the Triumph TR Series 400cc single cylinder engine. Lovely matte black finish there. Triumph make a really nice job of these engine cases. They do look really nice. Some really nice detailing on the side panels and stuff. That looks really good. And I'm a fan of the chain as well. You see we've got this black style chain here. Looks really good. We do have a rear shock which is adjustable for preload only. And up front we do have these really nice upside down forks. These have slightly more than the more road biased street twin version on the Scrambler. Coming to the front, we got the classic Triumph round headlight with the Scrambler grille on the front. Looks fantastic. And it is LED lights all the way around. We have a single disc up front with a 4-pot Bybree disc brake and the same smaller disc at the back, which is ample enough for this size bike. Stopping power was really good on this. On this Scrambler variant we do have the handguards. They are just plastic handguards, so I would always recommend fitting bark busters to a bike like this. Going to save you a lot of money should you drop the bike. And of course we've got that lovely Triumph pad up front. Really nice touch. Looks the part. It's what you need on a Scrambler, isn't it? And it goes beautifully with this stitched seat, which is very comfortable, I might add. All in all, I think you'll agree, that is a fantastic looking motorcycle. And a bit of a bargain at the price, I think. So we have these classic styled round mirrors from Triumph. Really nice looking mirrors, they definitely suit the bike very well. But they do vibrate just a little bit over about sort of 60-65 miles an hour. Now something else I noticed on this one, which is quite important for a bike that, you know, could potentially be used off-road, although I suggest probably most people are not going to use this off-road. But this one does have a bolt-on subframe, so should you have you know, a bit of an off and you twist the rear, that is replaceable. The bike isn't a write-off. Alright, so let's go and fire up this little 400cc and have a listen, see what she sounds like. Beautiful little thud there from the small single. I think you'll agree that sounds rather good. So looking at the dash, nothing special here really. All your usual idiot lights, warning lights, that sort of stuff. We have your fuel gauge, speed, gear indicator, and then we have on the little information button, you have your miles. So only 175 on this one. Trip 1, trip 2, MPG, that sort of fun stuff. 130 mile range less on this one. Traction control and ABS is switchable via the off-road mode. Alright then, so back on the little Triumph. So final thoughts on the Triumph Scrambler 400X. I think it's a bit of a bargain, to be honest with you. 5,600 for this model. It looks like a quality bike. You would expect no less from Triumph really. It doesn't bother me in the slightest that it's made in India at all. I think if you've not got over these things yet, then you've got some catching up to do, to be honest. I think it's excellent value for money. I think it's going to be frugal on running costs. And I really like the fact that although it's a smaller CC bike, it still feels like a full-size bike. I think any big adult will be very comfortable on this. I think this would make an excellent commuter, an excellent daily ride, and you could definitely still enjoy it of a Sunday ride out as well. The great thing about smaller bikes is that you really get to wring their neck, you know, really use the gears and work the bike, and that makes for a lot of fun on the A roads and twisties. So I think it'll make it a really enjoyable, usable bike. So my time's nearly up on this one now, so I'm going to head back and return this bike back to Bridge Motorcycles and XO, who've been good enough to let me out on their demo bike today. I can highly recommend these guys. Had a lot of dealings with Bridge and XR, and I've always found them to be very friendly, knowledgeable and excellent service. I'm always saying when doing motorcycle reviews that the thing about a bike review for anybody is that it is just an opinion, and it's my opinion, and I would highly recommend, if this is a bike you're interested in, going and getting yourself on a demo bike and going out and riding one for yourself. Form your own opinion. You know, if it's a bike you're looking at buying, it's something you need to live with, so don't just take my word for it or other YouTubers. Get out and get yourself on one. It's well worth spending the time and you know, really going out for a good spin. Get as long as you can on it and see what you can learn about the bike yourself. Right, here we are back at Bridge Motorcycles and XR. Excellent dealership. They deal with all the main brands there. There's a whole showroom there just for Honda alone. But these guys deal in all the big brands. So even if it's not a Triumph you're interested in, it's a great place to come down. They got a really nice cafe as well, so yeah, if you're local in the Devon area and want to kill some time, pop down, have a look. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the ride review of the Triumph Scrambler 400X. I thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the road again next time.